can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you very much. What a lengthy introduction. I think that's my mistake for sending you a very long plan out. Thank you for hosting me. It's a pleasure to be in Madrid, even though I won't be able to revisit all those wonderful restaurants and drinking halls that I know. But anyway, I'll survive on mine. I have never presented through Google Meet, so that's good news, I suppose. So I will try to make this work. I was trying it out yesterday and today, so I suppose I now should share my presentation. Okay, sharing. Can you see it now?
Yep. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool. If I go into full screen, can you see it as well?
Yes, we can.
Is it now in full screen?
It is on one side of the screen.
Yes.
But it is full screen. Just try changing.
Can I start?
Try changing to the second slide to see if we can see.
I can't hear anybody.
Oh, sorry. Try changing to the second slide to see if we can see the second one and if it works.
Okay. Cool.
Yes,
this?
yeah, perfect.
It is.
It's working.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I can't see you, so if you want to say something, stop me. Tell me to shut up finally. You will have to just tell me. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is the survey I conducted in 2022 in cooperation with some other people, primarily Audiovisual Translators Europe, and I'll tell you more about the results and also sort of what has happened in between. So between 2022 and now almost the end of 2024 in terms of working conditions of audiovisual translators. So the survey was open from early June to 22 through September, so about 4 months. Interestingly, as always, most responses were received in the first 2 weeks of this, when the survey was open, so in June. It was distributed through social media channels and through audiovisual translation associations throughout Europe, and it seems the rest of the world. And then I conducted an online interview with AFT in September this year to see what they have done with the survey and what sort of results have been gained. So why was the survey conducted? So the point was, or the purpose was to get a clearer picture of on audiovisual translators' working conditions, because most of the ideas that translators and everybody else had about the lives of audiovisual translators were sort of hearsay without any clear data. And then whenever audiovisual translators associations would start to negotiate or try to enter negotiations with government stakeholders, including those in the EU, they would get stuck because they didn't have any concrete information about the numbers, earnings, contracts, nothing. And we also wanted to better compare European countries. In the end, we got responses from some other countries outside Europe, but we took it out for the analysis purpose. So this is the number of participants per country. You can see that there is this category other. This is we received answers from the rest of the world, but we had to exclude it because that was not the purpose of the survey. So the people who participated didn't really see that it wasn't meant for them, but it doesn't matter. Maybe somebody else can take it from here and take it worldwide. There were almost 2,000 participants who started the questionnaire, and as you know, with questionnaires, the trouble is to get respondents to reach the end. of the questionnaire. So in the end, only just so 1,200, just over 1,200 completed the survey by answering all the questions. Participants came from 35 European countries, almost all European countries, but if we go back a little, you will see that the number of participants per country was a little bit small for in some countries, so we can't really reach any conclusions for the countries such as Latvia, Russia, or Estonia with only one response. But as you can see, Spain was very active, so 262 participants from Spain. The largest number of responses came from some of the most populous European nations such as France, Spain, Italy, and Germany, with highly developed audiovisual translation markets, and these countries actually make 35% of total European population. If we take only the EU, it's even, I think, more than half. The average number of years of experience was 10 participants, so divided by all of them, and this actually tells us that these were novice translators, audiovisual translators. These were more or less experienced colleagues who participated in the survey, and the most experienced ones were the Dutch, where the average number of years was almost 20. Then we asked our participants, you'll see that later on in the analysis, what was their highest level of education, because we wanted to compare the level of education versus the earnings that audiovisual translators have, and you'll see the results are not exactly brilliant, but most of our participants had either BA, MA actually, and some even PhD. So most audiovisual translators are highly educated, at least according to this survey, as shown on the previous slide, with 66.3, so 2/3, having a master's degree or higher. This finding is in line with country-based studies such as those conducted in Finland, where I'll butcher the name, so I won't even bother. And I conducted a similar survey earlier in the year in Croatia, which is how I ended up doing it on the European level. Now, when it comes to percentage of annual income that those participants have in their total income that comes from ABT, it was more than 60% in most cases. So in some cases, such as Croatia, it was 100. It means that all participants were freelancers. Yes, and what is your current predominant specialty in audiovisual translation? We'll see why this information is important later on. It was mostly subtitlers, but also in some of the dubbing countries, you'll see that there is for instance, in Spain, a certain percentage, around 20, I think, of our participants were involved in dubbing. In what format do you work in audiovisual translation? This is no surprise, but we wanted to see how many actually worked as freelancers, because again, this becomes important in these negotiations with government stakeholders and on EU level, as you will see a bit later. Now, those who are employed, not a very big percentage, but still, we wanted to see how much money they actually make. What was their net monthly salary, as we normally express our earnings this way in Europe, compared to the median of their country, and then participants could actually see what the median was for their country. Apparently, you want to be employed as an audiovisual translator in Denmark because they earn the most, but then again, this has cost of living has to be factored in. So I'm not quite sure that this is so rosy for the Scandinavian countries as it looks here. Do you predominantly work for international or local clients? This again becomes important later on in the analysis, and you'll see that it's sort of divided between international clients and local branches of international companies. This was an interesting one. Do you have access to any employment schemes? And I was particularly stunned by this answer. I don't know. So quite a few of audiovisual translators don't really know if they have any access to an unemployment scheme in their country. We wanted to see how much time they can take off, because one of the main complaints of audiovisual translators before the survey had been, we don't have any spare time, we have to work all the time. So we actually wanted to see how much time do they take off, or do they go on holidays at all. Then we wanted to, again, many people say, or used to say before the survey, that they work really long hours. Weekends don't exist. There are internet memes about translators in general, and weekends and holidays. So we wanted to see how many actually work weekends and long hours, and as you can see from the graph, quite a few actually. And in some countries, you definitely don't want to work as a. If you are not into working all the time, you don't want to be in Turkey, because this is where people tend to work the most. Assuming you work 35 to 40 hours a week, what is your net income after taxes compared to the median wage in your country? And you'll see, this is a graph, but you'll see a little bit later in the conclusions what we have found out. How many minutes of audiovisual material do you typically have to translate to cover the net monthly household expenditure for one adult in your country? And this also shows that in some countries, such as, for instance, in Bulgaria, it's almost 400 minutes. We can't really make any conclusions for Estonia, again, because that's one of the countries with only one respondent. But if you have a look at Spain, it's almost over 200 minutes. Now, only 38.5% of all respondents earn more than the median wage of their country, while nearly 2/3, or 61.5%, are below the median wage of their country, which might come as a surprise if we consider the high level of education attained by many of the respondents. And also the level of education, that's also what became clear in the analysis, doesn't make any difference when it comes to earnings. So you can have an MA, BA, PhD, it doesn't make any difference. Again, we wanted to see how many of our obvious freelancers negotiate their rate. And you can see that it's sort of sometimes this gray color is sort of predominant, rarely and never. Often and always is pretty rare, but not in all countries. As you can see, in Spain, 264 respondents, quite a few actually negotiate their rate, and that you'll see that later on is quite an important rate negotiation. How many hours a week do you spend performing non-remunerated tasks for your clients? Again, Subtitle especially have complained for years that they have to work for free a lot, meaning perform duties such as, I don't know, recuts or re-subtitling of certain content for nothing, not to mention some administrative work. Do you feel that your clients' demands over the last 5 years have increased, stayed the same, and decreased? And you will see the color red sort of dominates this graph, but again, this probably is the case. There is a certain degree of subjectivity, of course, here. So, you know, sometimes we feel that things are worse than they actually are, but more research into this would be needed to reach any concrete conclusion. Do you sign any kind of contract with your clients? This is again an important part, one of the reasons for the survey. Yes, actually, many do. For some, it depends on the client, but then you will see that in some countries, quite a few don't sign any contract. In Spain, it's almost 20% don't have any, according to this, don't sign any contract, or didn't at least, before 2022. What percentage of your yearly income comes from royalties and authors' rights? Another important negotiation point for after with on the European level, but also national levels. And you will see that, for instance, in France, with quite a few participants, almost a third of their income comes from royalties, and this is because the French have managed to negotiate that audiovisual translators in particular. Are you a member of your national AVT organization? We wanted to see that as well. That was interesting for after. Well, in Spain, it's sort of 50-50 when it comes to the respondents on this survey. Are you a member of a trade union? Most are not. Some people didn't even know that there was a trade union that they could join. How satisfied? Now, satisfaction is again a very subjective category. Are you with working conditions within the field of audiovisual translation, and would you recommend this profession to newcomers and students? I find this discrepancy between recommendation and satisfaction interesting in some countries, but it sort of is mostly falls somewhere in the middle. We asked participants to give 5 words that best describe their profession, situation, or job, and you will see that the one that dominates is underpaid. This one, stressful, comes maybe a little bit as a surprise because you wouldn't expect that from a job that most people work from home. But again, because of long hours, it can be very stressful, unstable, demanding, etc. Then, when it comes to comparison of the results, there is a statistically significant difference in income between participants depending on how often they work for end clients. No surprises there. Those who never or rarely work for end clients more often than others have wages lower than the median in their country, which means intermediary agencies don't really help. There is no statistically significant difference in income between participants with different educational levels, as I have already said. There is no statistically significant difference in income between participants with different specialty in AVT either. It doesn't really matter. And those who work for international clients more often than others have wages higher than the median of their country. I find this one the most interesting or illuminating conclusions. There is a statistically significant difference in time off between participants depending on years spent as audiovisual translators. Participants who work longer time as audiovisual translators more often take a longer time off. I guess you are more tired the older you get. There is a statistically significant difference in income between participants depending on how often they negotiate their rate. So participants who never negotiate their rate more often have income below median wage of their country. The more often they negotiate their rate, the higher is the income in comparison to the median of their country. And then 2 years on, I wanted to see what has happened in the meantime, and according to AFTE, of Audiovisual Translators Europe, AFTE's Working Conditions Survey was a seminal document in which audiovisual translators received clear data about their working conditions. Having data which you can use in talks with institutions and industry stakeholders is a useful tool in explaining the situation of audiovisual translators and in bargaining with not just the government agencies, but also with companies, right? The AFTE survey serves as a tool in the bargaining process. According to AFTE, in September 2022, European Commission adopted the guidelines on the application of EU competition law to collective agreements regarding the working conditions of self-employed people. The problem was that before that, you were not allowed even to negotiate or enter collective bargaining if you were self-employed. That means that freelancers now have a right to bargain collectively, which has already started in several countries. In Finland, which is usually one of the leaders when it comes to improving the conditions for audiovisual translators and translators in general. In Denmark, and also collective bargaining is underway in Croatia. Within European Collective Management Organization, there has been a surge of awareness about authors' rights of audiovisual translators as a result of continuous AFTE's efforts, which culminated in the first conference, AFTE's conference on audiovisual translators' authors' rights held in May in Barcelona. Again, I wasn't there, not even virtually, so if somebody from the audience knows more about it, maybe you can join in later on in the discussion. Participants included representatives of trade unions and EU officials, and the focus was on how to level the playing field in terms of authors' rights for AV translators in the EU. Some have copyright remuneration system in place, some partially, some nothing at all, as you have also seen in this presentation. And I find it's important. Audiovisual translators are more aware of contracts these days, and while some still sign contracts without thinking about legal implications or enter work without any contract, more and more audiovisual translators now aim to get legal advice before signing anything. And then what about AI or artificial intelligence, which is sort of on everybody's mind? Is it just a hype or more? I wanted to know. And for the time being, it is something everyone talks about from the technical, linguistic, and legal standpoint. AFTE has published a statement on AI, which is available on their website. And they have received reports about localization agencies commissioning post-editing work from translators, openly stating that the quality required will be below usual standards, the work will pay accordingly, less and good enough is an acceptable criterion, claiming their clients have been informed of this and agree with it. And in conclusion, working conditions around Europe are still poor for most audiovisual translators, according to AFTE. The new challenge posed by pressure towards automation translation doesn't alleviate this situation, and there is a little bit of polarization, according to AFTE. There is well-paid work in niche segments, maybe if you work directly for clients or distributors, and the bulk of the market is faced with constantly decreasing rates and deteriorating working conditions. One-sided non-disclosure agreements, machine translation, and AI are used to replace and not really help audiovisual translators. These are the references. I'm still in the process of writing an article about this, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer this. And my screen has gone black. Okay. All right, let me now stop sharing, stop presenting. Okay.
Thank you very much, Kristijan. It was actually quite inspiring, and you definitely highlight what is the situation right now with audiovisual translation in terms of working experience, actually in discrepancies and differences, no, between all the countries. I think we do have like few minutes maybe for some questions. I don't know in the audience, or yes, we do already have one question. Yes, there's a microphone there. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I am Maria from Madrid. Many thanks for the presentation. Sorry if I apologize for my ignorance, but when we talk about audiovisual translation, does it include only subtitle, or does it include other things like, I don't know, audio description or other things?
I haven't really heard much. Could you repeat the question?
Yes, Kristijan, what Maria was asking you, it was actually about accessibility. When you consider this survey about audiovisual translation, did you already include audio description or subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing?
All of them, so they could actually state what their specialty was, but there were quite a few audio describers in some countries, but in many countries there is no audio description at all, or there is very little. Those subtitles or freelancers, many of them work as subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. So we didn't really differentiate between those who work in accessibility and those who don't.
So audiovisual translation and subtitle are synonyms or not? Or there is any difference? There are differences.
So what is a synonym? Sorry.
If they are similar, no, Maria?
What do you mean? What do you mean about what is really audiovisual translation? So what does it mean?
Okay. Yeah. So we explained that at the beginning of the survey. So anybody working in audiovisual translation as a subtitle for the deaf and hard of hearing, as a subtitler interlingual from one language to another, or audio description, video game translator, and those who work in voiceover and dubbing. All of these were included. However, as you saw on one of the slides, the majority, I believe about 90%, were subtitles. This is, I guess, because most audiovisual translators work as subtitles. The majority of work is there.
Okay, many thanks.
Okay. I don't know if there are any questions online or around here. Okay, let me just ask you one quick question, Kristijan, about the legal conditions and the rights. Did you consider this? Because yesterday, in the session yesterday, we were talking about the conditions, the copyrights, actually about audio descriptions. Do you consider this in the survey, the legal conditions in terms of, you know, if they have these rights?
Again, it seems to, at least before 2022, that depended on the country a lot. And it was more down to country-based legislation. It seems to have been the best in countries such as France. You know the way the French are. If something is wrong, they go on the streets and fight for it. And in those countries where people just sit silent, apparently there is not a lot. But now I think the main purpose of the AFTE action, and I was a member of AFTE when I was involved in my national association. They started the process with the EU when it comes to copyright 10, 12 years ago. It was 2011 when the first meeting was held. And I think now to have this collective bargaining set into European law, which usually means that national legislation has to follow, I think is a big step. Obviously, it's step by step, but I think that conditions are changing. And what is encouraging is that most or at least the majority, according to AFTE, of freelancers and audiovisual translators in general now are aware of what copyright is and what their rights, if not are, then what they should be looking for, such as royalty payments. We have been talking about nano payments for streaming your subtitles at Netflix, and this still hasn't materialized because, of course, most freelancers just give up their rights as authors. However, legislation has been changing, and I think that's quite encouraging.
Okay, thanks very much. Kristijan.
Sorry, you're muted.
Okay, thanks very much, Kristijan. I don't know if there are any other questions, or we shall proceed with our next speaker. Thank you again, Kristijan. I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce again another name today. So Jurgita Astrauskienė, yeah, okay. She's going to present her talk about visual voices, advances film and accessibility for the deaf and hard of hearing in Lithuania, okay. Let me introduce yourself quickly. Jurgita, she's an associate professor of audiovisual translation at Vilnius University, Kaunas faculty, where she coordinates the BA and MA programs in audiovisual translation. She specializes in teaching modules on audiovisual translation and accessibility. In addition to her academic work, Jurgita is an active practitioner, collaborating with prominent cinema festivals and filmmakers in Lithuania, focusing on the translation and preparation of subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. Her research primarily explores audiovisual translation with a particular focus on dubbing and accessibility. Thank you, Jurgita.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here. I'm a little bit under the weather, so bear with me, and I will try to share my slides with you. Okay, hopefully you can see them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can see them now.
Excellent, thank you so much. So I will start with, actually I'm really happy I'm going second after Kristijan's presentation.
Jurgita.
As I will also speak about audiovisual translation, and first of all I would like to speak about the landscape of accessibility in Lithuania. So it really refers to the earlier presentation. So first of all, we divide accessibility, where it is applied in Lithuania, into mainly three categories. TV, where we do not have SBH, but we do have some Lithuanian Sign Language. Also, we have regular subtitles on the national television, and also on some commercial channels, but not much, only for the selected programs. As far as cinema festivals are concerned, right now we are working with 4 film festivals that include SDH for the selected films as well, and I will speak about them a little bit more later on. And lastly, we also work with film creators, so I should say that SDH is really gaining popularity among them, as well as the film distributors, especially Lithuanian film distributors. We started audiovisual translation program, the BA translation program, in 2012, and quickly we saw that there is a need for our BA students to continue with their studies. So in 2016 we started the MA program on the same title. And how we graduated.
Jurgita,
so
sorry to interrupt.
At the beginning in 2012, we
Jurgita?
started with some accessibility, as we say, aspects.
Jurgita?
So modules like audiovisual translation that would involve,
Sorry, we're not seeing the
audio
slides
description,
moving.
voiceover, and also semester project where students would practice and write the theoretical description of their practical work. Also, we had a visual translation with aspects like subtitling, subtitling, text compression, as well as SDH. Later on, we saw that there is a need to increase the modules that are devoted to accessibility. So we organize such modules as specialized translation with two aspects. One aspect for subtitling for the deaf and hard of hearing, and the other one for audio description. We also started new model, audiovisual translation project work, mainly based on the accessible filmmaking theory, where students learn how to organize, write the script, film their particular project, and also create it in a way that would be accessible from the very beginning. We also established the General University elective called Deaf Community and Culture, where we combined our forces with the Lithuanian Deaf and Hard of Hearing Association, and their previous president is one of our lecturers. He teaches Lithuanian Sign Language for our students, and we also speak obviously about deaf and hard of hearing culture and accessibility as well. And our last
Jurgita, are you able to listen to us?
Visual translation specialization, and it is on accessibility of the digital content. So this is the program that is running for the second year in Lithuania. As far as the practice of SDH is concerned, we started with documentary film festival called Inconvenient Films. You can see their quote in the slide in 2017 with 6 films with SDH. So in 2016, the first students of audiovisual translation finished the BA program, and in 2017 they could already work for the film festival and implement their practical as well as theoretical skills. In 2018, the same festival invited us to work with them in the Inconvenient Film class, and this is a really nice initiative that provides free accessibility for teachers to work with various films, organize discussions, and they asked us to also prepare SDH for those films. In 2019, we joined forces with the biggest festival in Lithuania called Kino Pavasaris, or the Spring of Cinema. And we are still going strong with this festival, and every year they are asking us to prepare films with SDH. In 2023, Vilnius Short Film Festival wrote to us asking to provide subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing for their festival. You can see their statement in the slide. And last but not least, this year, a film festival called with an interesting title, Beer, Lion and Twig, also invited us to work for them and do subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. Now, another factor that increased interest in subtitling for the deaf and hard of hearing was some changes in the state funding. Obviously, Lithuanian state wants to promote Lithuanian cinema, especially they want to promote Lithuanian film projects, but for the creators to get funding, they have to meet certain criteria. And this year, a change in the criteria happened, where the film directors were asked to have audio description as well as SDH for their films for them to get the funding. So as you can imagine, the directors started contacting us more often as it started. The regulation came to force in July. Also, the state funding was used for the Lithuanian classical films. So most of those films were adapted with audio description as well as SDH and placed in the media platform of the national TV channel, and it's free for people to watch it anytime they want. As far as guidelines are concerned, I should say that we do not have official, official guidelines we do have, but certified guidelines. But my colleagues from our university, Jurgita and Laura Netzvigienė, they had a big project where they actually talked with the target audiences and verified what their needs are, and after that they wrote about the landscape of accessibility in Lithuania, and later on they wrote a guidebook about the cinema and theater accessibility. So this is a really useful tool for the directors that want to implement accessibility for their works. Obviously, while working with cinema festivals, many issues appear. So first of all, the film selection criteria are not really clear, and usually the target audience, I mean the deaf and hard of hearing people or the blind and visually impaired people, are not asked what kind of movies they want to see. Usually the film festival organizers select the material themselves, so it is quite an issue. In recent years we have a bit of problem with multilingual subtitles. Earlier we used to have subtitles in Lithuanian, two-line subtitles in Lithuanian, and also subtitles in English. So we would have 4 lines, as you can see in the picture down on the right-hand side. And it was already challenging because the festival organizers would ask us not to prolong the timing of the SDH to match the English subtitles, and as you can imagine, with SDH sometimes it's really difficult, so we would argue constantly about that. But recently a new, I'd say, trend appeared where the translators are asked to make multilingual subtitles that would fit into 2 lines. So the top line, as you can see in the picture on the slide, would be Lithuanian, and the bottom line would be in some kind of other language, in this case in English. So that's also quite triggering because it's difficult to make really good SDH because of the text compression if you want to have subtitles positioned this way. Also, we are really in favor of position subtitles, as we call it in Lithuania. Again, the picture in the bottom, you can see that the dialogues are written placed in the regular place, location in the bottom center of the screen, and on the top we can see also some SDH regarding the music and some additional sounds. But then we are working with on platforms, especially this was appearing during COVID time. Some online platforms could not have these position subtitles, so again we had to rely on the regular placement of the subtitles. Similarly to the previous discussion, copyright and financial capabilities also have a lot to do with the accessibility and how the film selection is being done. As you can imagine, some directors do not want to give the copyright for the target audiences to be able to see their films anytime. So again, the financial capabilities of the festivals are also very various, and some films are being shown only one time during the festival. So again, it's quite hard to fit all the audiences that would like to see those films into one screening. I should also say that some of the festivals do not advertise the screenings on time, and therefore deaf and hard of hearing people, as well as blind and hard of seeing people, sometimes they don't even know that the festival has some films that they would be able to enjoy. And finally, even though we do have SDH, in rare occasions, the festival also takes care of inviting the interpreters for Lithuanian Sign Language for the discussions after the screenings. In our university, we are working with SDH quite a bit, as well as with audiovisual project work, as I have said earlier. And we are encouraging students to look at SDH in a creative way. So here you can see some examples, not from my students' work, but from Lithuanian musicians' work, where they included certain sounds. As here you can see a singer singing a prolonged word, and you can see the way it is presented. It's easier to understand how it sounds like. Also some signs, for instance here with a guitar, also with drums at the bottom. Also some examples of the placement of SDH. So this is one example on the bottom that you can see. The placement is on the opposite sides, and you can see that it's even one of the SDH lines is placed backwards, and it is in accordance with the sign language that is being shown on the screen. This is an example from the film where the director worked with deaf and hard of hearing people that asked to write not an explanation of sound, in this case leaf blower, but to show the volume of the sound. Also, it is possible to use different fonts to communicate ideas in SDH, and we try to encourage our students to do that as well. So the top picture is from the series that shows an inventive use of, in this case, not SDH, but titles. Again, some examples from the same film that I had pictures on the bottom of the previous slide. In this case, the sound is not explained, well, it is explained verbally, but it is also explained by placing each letter more and more stretched, in a more and more stretched way, showing how the sound travels in this particular scene. And here are some pictures from our students' work. As I have told you, they are learning sign language, and sometimes the creators forget that not all audiences understand sign language. There are some people that lost their hearing because of some kind of illness, so we try to incorporate more modes of accessibility. So here you can see the students speaking in Lithuanian Sign Language, but they are also placing explanation in the subtitling form. Again, using emoticons, I know that this is not for every genre, but in some cases it works really well. In this case, again, a picture is shown of the person that is calling, so we can see the indication that the phone is ringing. We can see the picture of the person who is calling. And in this picture down at the corner, we can see again the explanation about the music, about the sounds, and also we can see an interesting...
Ilka, Ilka, can you hear me?
Yes?
I'm sorry for bothering, but we can only see your first slide of the presentation.
Yes, sorry. We've been trying.
Yeah, we've been trying from the very beginning, but Jurgita, it seems like you couldn't hear us at certain moments, and we tried through the chat and also trying to interrupt, but it seems probably you weren't. Yeah, it was probably. Okay.
Can you see all the slides right now?
Can you move your slide right now, going backward and forward, and see if it's moving? No.
Right now we're seeing
If you click on the presentation mode,
You,
down, the PowerPoint presentation,
Okay.
no, it's not working.
yeah, there. Try there. Oh.
Is it working now?
No, I
No.
think it's just because you shared one screen, and it has to be full screen, because otherwise the player is not showing. Try.
Okay, let me see. Sorry about that. I couldn't hear you. You should have shouted louder.
Sorry, we've tried several times, but didn't want to be rude and then overlap on your...
Trust me, you can. Okay.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
I'll
it
see.
wasn't
No,
rude.
it's fine, it's fine. Okay, how about now? I will go with an examples, okay? Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm so sorry that you could not see everything that I was talking about, but with the example, so this is an example of the multilingual subtitles that I was talking about, where you have one Lithuanian line on the top and the English line on the bottom. This is the example of Lithuanian subtitles and English subtitles at the bottom, and I was talking about the matching of the timing of those two. Here are the examples of the Lithuanian singer and their video clip, where they use an interesting way of putting explanations about the singing, a prolonged sound, and also about certain sounds during their musical video. Here are the examples of the SDH that is placed, as you can see, on the opposite sides, and in this way even backwards, to match the sign language that is being shown on the screen. And here is an example of the, as I mentioned, of the volume that is not explained, but that is shown the strength of the volume in a different way. On the top you can see the font, in this case of the titles, that are used in a creative way to represent the idea of the film. This example is again from the film, where explanations of the sound intensity was shown by stretching the letters of the explanation. So they would start with this one, and as you can see, they would stretch it to show that it's a prolonged sound. And these are examples of our students' work. So as I said, as far as they know some sign language, they incorporate sign language in this picture here, but also they include SDH. So two modes of accessibility, I might say. Creative use of emoticons and almost like texting and conversation that is visual on the screen, which might be also included into SDH. Obviously not for all genres, but still. Here you can see a picture of the person that is calling, and while on the corner you can see that it is explained that the phone is ringing. And this picture down here, again, we have the explanation about the music and some sounds, and also an interesting creation of as if video game where a person can choose what she likes to do or what she likes to skip, and this is incorporated as a kind of accessibility initiative. We also researched a little bit, it's just a pilot study with my student, how visual cognition and subtitle placement work together. Well, as far as I myself was learning subtitles, sign language, Lithuanian Sign Language, I understood that the peripheral vision of the deaf people are wider than the peripheral vision of the hearing people. So some scientists believe that they can see the information that is placed on the different, let's say, in different corners of the screen faster than hearing individuals. However, because they receive more information, they tend to process this information longer. So we wanted to explore if this is true or not, and we performed an eye tracking study, a pilot study, with two groups. One group was of the deaf and hard of hearing people, and the other group of the hearing people. So we showed them several videos with various regular subtitles, SDH that is placed in the center at the bottom of the screen, SDH that would be positioned in two different areas. And after watching those films, we gathered the data, of course, and we also performed a questionnaire with these two groups. So we confirmed that deaf and hard of hearing people can see position subtitles faster. And here on the bottom of the screen, you can see a picture where the red dots represent the hearing people, and the blue dots represent the deaf and hard of hearing participants. And as you can see, once the positioned SDH appears, the blue dots tend to go immediately up the screen, while the red dots, they cannot see that the position subtitle appeared yet. So yes, the deaf and hard of hearing people, they can see the position subtitles faster. But what was really interesting, that the second observation that they can read the subtitles slower because of the bigger load of information was not confirmed. And in fact, it was approximately the same. But during the questionnaires, deaf and hard of hearing people stated that they have problems reading Lithuanian language, not particularly in subtitles, but anywhere. Obviously, a hearing group wouldn't identify such thing. And also, hearing groups stated that it was more difficult for them to grasp the position subtitles and to read them, even though both groups stated that they saw and they read the position subtitles. So this was just a beginning, just a pilot study that we performed. We need to gather more participants for the data to be confirmed, but this is the status where we are right now. So obviously, because you could not see half of the slides, you might have some questions, so I would be more than glad to answer them, and you can always write me as well. These are my contacts. Sorry once again for not hearing you.
Don't worry, Jurgita. It was great to finally see your slides and see all the examples that you were talking about, that they were really interesting. Thanks very much. I don't know if we have any questions. Yeah, we do have questions in the audience here. Jurgita, for you. If you're not able to listen to it, we repeat it for you. Hopefully it works now, our microphone.
So hello, I am Maria from Madrid. I am blind, and because of this, perhaps I am wrong. So if I tell any silly thing, please let me know. So you talk about bilingual subtitles, but in which cases do you use bilingual subtitles? Because usually, I mean, for example, I have seen in theater, yes, I have seen bilingual subtitles, but usually in television, for example, or at least here in Spain, I think, subtitles are only in the language of the country. I mean, so in which cases, I don't know if in Lithuania is different, or in which cases do you use, or it's better to use bilingual subtitles?
Okay, Jurgita, should I repeat, or did you get the question?
Yes, it would be good. I could hear, but only fragments. I'm sorry.
Okay, Maria, she's in the audience. She was actually asking about the bilingual subtitles. In which examples you use it? She was mentioning about Spain, that we usually use in opera, no? And, well, examples like that. So she wants to know in which examples do you use, you know, these bilingual subtitles. I understand, like in the during film festivals and so on.
If it was my will, I wouldn't use them at all. Sorry to say. With SDH, or if I would use them, I would use them without certain conditions that SDH, let's say, should match the English or other language subtitles, but mainly the film festivals are using them, and this is done so that the participants from other countries could enjoy the film at the same time with the Lithuanian audiences.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jurgita. I don't know if we do have any other question or there are online questions. No? Not at all? Okay, so let's shall proceed with our next presenters. Okay, thank you, Jurgita.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, thank you. Okay, our next presenter are Elena López Burgos and Rayco González-Montesino. They're going to talk about the quality of the translation in sign language and from the perspective in the deaf and hard of hearing people. I'm going to proceed to read their bios in Spanish, okay, if that is okay. Elena López Burgos es doctora en el programa de doctorado en Humanidades, Lenguaje y Cultura de la Universidad Rey Juan Carlos, con la tesis doctoral Cantando en Silencio, una aproximación a la traducción de canciones a la lengua de signos española. Es licenciada en Filología Hispánica por la Universidad Autónoma de Madrid y titulada en el Máster de Ciencia del Lenguaje y Lingüística Hispánica por la UNED. Es técnico superior en Interpretación de la Lengua de Signos desde 2011 y ha desarrollado su labor profesional como intérprete de lengua de signos en el ámbito educativo y artístico, concretamente en la traducción de canciones. Es docente del grado de Lengua de Signos Española y Comunidad Sorda de la Universidad Rey Juan Carlos desde 2018. Por otro lado, tenemos a Rayco González-Montesino, que es profesor contratado doctor en la Facultad de Ciencias de la Educación de la Universidad Rey Juan Carlos. Es doctor cum laude en Lingüística Aplicada por la Universidad de Vigo. Es diplomado en Logopedia por la Universidad de La Laguna y licenciado en Antropología Social y Cultural de la UNED. También ha cursado diversos posgrados, máster universitario en Investigación, Traducción e Interpretación, máster universitario Educar en la Diversidad, máster en Interpretación en Lengua de Signos. Es docente en el grado también de Lengua de Signos Española y Comunidad Sorda de la Rey Juan Carlos, y sus principales áreas de docencia e investigación son la traducción e interpretación de lengua de signos y su didáctica y la lingüística de la lengua de signos española. Es investigador principal del proyecto Compartir, Subcorpus Coralse Multilingüe Paralelo de Traducciones e Interpretaciones, subvencionado por el Ministerio de Ciencia e Innovación del Gobierno de España. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. No sé, Rayco, aquí se le ve bien para va a asignar, no sé.
Sí, ahora lo preguntamos en...
No, que se ve. Mientras
Yo creo que
aquí se ve bien.
¿Ahí se ve bien?
Si no, me retiro yo un poco para que haga más contraste.
No, está bien.
Vale. Bueno, en primer lugar, dar las gracias a la organización del seminario por tenernos aquí y por darle presencia a la lengua de signos. Hemos decidido hacer la presentación en esta modalidad en la que yo hablo y mi compañero signa, porque creemos que la lengua de signos tiene que tener más presencia desde el punto de vista académico y en este tipo de espacios para darle el valor que nosotros consideramos que tiene. La investigación que vamos a presentar aquí, la calidad de la traducción de canciones a la lengua de signos española desde la perspectiva de las personas sordas, forma parte de mi tesis doctoral, que la dirigió mi compañero Rayco. La presentación...
Lo que no sé si se nos va a ver las dos cosas.
Vale, si no la sigo yo, la tengo aquí.
Uy, perdón, compartir. No, perdóname. Vale, perdóname. Disculpad un segundo. ¿Y estamos aquí arriba?
Ahí está, la 14.
Pero tiene que estar
Si es que
presente.
lo
Tiene
no
que
quiero-
estar, pon la presentación primero ahí.
Lo que no quiero es que nos pase,
Ahí.
pero se nos va a ver a pantalla completa. Perdemos la interpretación. Sí, sí, sí. Digo que desde casa
Pero
no
sí
ven
lo
la
fija.
Pero sigue.
Desde casa nos podéis confirmar si veis también la interpretación en lengua de signos. ¿Nos veis a nosotros en sala a la vez? Vale, pues nos vamos a fijar.
Se ve una presentación de PowerPoint que se llama La calidad de la traducción, canciones en lengua de signos. O sea, se ve como presentación. No
Ya
tal,
estamos.
¿no?
Deberían
Así.
estar las dos ahora.
Vale. Para comenzar, es importante aclarar que al enfrentarnos al ámbito de las canciones traducidas a la lengua de signos, hay una serie de dificultades a las que debemos hacer frente, como es el caso de nuestro estudio, y más si queremos abordar la calidad. El primer problema con el que nos encontramos es con la escasez de estudios en la materia, principalmente porque ya en las lenguas orales encontramos que ha habido una falta de interés en el estudio de la traducción de este tipo de materiales, de canciones. Además, nos juntamos con que en el caso de España la lengua de signos es de reciente reconocimiento y la profesión de las intérpretes de lengua de signos es una profesión relativamente joven. Por otro lado, se ha producido un incremento de la producción de canciones traducidas a la lengua de signos en los últimos tiempos, por la producción en redes sociales sobre todo. Pero eso nos hace preguntarnos si eso ha supuesto una mejora en la calidad del producto o un mayor reconocimiento social para las intérpretes de lengua de signos que traducen canciones, incluso si ha producido beneficios o una mayor inclusión social de las personas sordas. La respuesta es un tanto desalentadora, ya que nos encontramos que esa producción se ha realizado sin controlar la calidad que se ofrece y además en muchas ocasiones, como ya se dijo ayer, son realizadas por personas oyentes sin las competencias lingüísticas ni culturales necesarias para ofrecer una mínima calidad. Vale. Al mismo tiempo, se ha producido un aumento en la demanda de este tipo de servicios, lo que ha supuesto que las intérpretes tengan una mayor necesidad de formación, ya que hasta ahora no la han recibido, bien porque los estudios anteriores, que eran ciclo formativo de grado superior, no se daba, o bien porque en la actualidad no hay tiempo suficiente en un grado para poderlas formar con las competencias suficientes para poder abordar este tipo de trabajos. Entonces, se ven en situaciones en las que sus decisiones se toman en base a su percepción propia de la calidad y a su intuición como signantes. Por otro lado, este aumento de este tipo de materiales ha hecho que las personas sordas exijan una mayor calidad de este tipo de producto, respetando principalmente su lengua y su cultura y priorizando su comprensión y disfrute. En cuanto a lo que opina la comunidad sorda sobre la traducción de canciones, encontramos opiniones muy polarizadas. Por un lado, hay algunas personas que consideran que la música es parte integral de la cultura sorda, otras que se encuentran en un punto intermedio en el que consideran que es la unión entre el mundo sordo y el mundo oyente, y en último lugar, hay un grupo de personas dentro de la comunidad sorda que rechazan la música por su noción audiocentrista principalmente. Sin embargo, como también ya se comentó ayer, la música puede ser concebida como un fenómeno multimodal, que puede ser percibida de muy diversas formas, desde estímulos visuales, táctiles y cinestésicos. En último lugar, el último problema que nos hemos encontrado es que cuando hablamos de calidad en interpretación de lengua de signos, esta siempre se centra en la interpretación simultánea. Y cuando estamos trabajando con canciones, nos estamos enfrentando a una traducción y no simultánea, ya que hay un tiempo previo de preparación, como también comentaron ayer algunas de las compañeras. Como vemos, el proceso de traducción de la música para sordos es único y todavía estamos descubriéndolo. Nos queda mucho por hacer. En cuanto a la traducción de canciones, debemos tener en cuenta, en cuanto al marco teórico, que estamos enfrentándonos a una traducción subordinada, en el que hay dos tipos de códigos, uno lingüístico y uno musical, y uno y otro son indivisibles y funcionan de manera unida. Al mismo tiempo, este tipo de textos tienen un gran contenido poético, que también condicionará la labor del traductor, como cuando se enfrenta a una traducción literaria. Por otro lado, debemos también tener en cuenta que no cualquier traducción, no cualquier canción trasladada a otra lengua puede ser considerada una traducción. Hay que considerar una serie de factores que harán que esa canción pueda ser considerada propiamente como una traducción. Desde el punto de vista de Lowe, plantea una teoría, que es la teoría del pentatlón, en la que hay 5 criterios que se deben cumplir para estar hablando propiamente de una traducción, que serían los criterios de cantabilidad, sentido, naturalidad, ritmo y rima, siendo el primero de ellos el más importante y el último el considerado menos importante e incluso prescindible. Si centramos ya nuestra atención en la traducción de canciones a las lenguas de signos, vemos que cuando nos enfrentamos a este tipo de traducción en un concierto, en un espectáculo en directo, estamos hablando de un tipo de traducción específica que es una traducción a la lengua de signos en vivo. Por otro lado, debemos pensar la relevancia que tiene realmente la música para las personas sordas y la capacidad que tenemos para traducirla con las competencias que nos aporta la lengua de signos. En los estudios previos, los problemas que más se han encontrado en la traducción de canciones a la lengua de signos es la calidad de estas traducciones y la falta de contexto cultural. En cuanto a los criterios de calidad, en esta investigación utilizamos, por un lado, el pentatlón de Lowe, ya que ha habido otros autores como Oluasa que confirmaron que eran buenos criterios para determinar la calidad de una canción traducida, y por otro lado, al tratarse de una lengua asignada, hemos adoptado los criterios de calidad para interpretación en lenguas asignadas elaborados por Bao y González-Montesino. Este sería el listado de criterios lingüísticos y no lingüísticos que presentan Bao y González-Montesino, al mismo tiempo que consideran que hay una serie de factores contextuales que también pueden afectar a la calidad de una traducción, como pueden ser la formación y la experiencia de las profesionales o el mercado laboral al que deben enfrentarse. Partiendo de estas dificultades que hemos presentado y de la fundamentación teórica, surgieron una serie de preguntas. ¿Disfrutan realmente las personas sordas de las canciones traducidas a lengua de signos? ¿Las entienden? ¿Qué aspectos les resultan atractivos de una canción traducida? ¿Y qué consideran un producto de calidad? En base a estas cuestiones que surgieron, planteamos los objetivos de nuestra investigación, que pretende principalmente delimitar la opinión de las personas sordas sobre las canciones traducidas, en este caso, a la lengua de signos española. Para ello, quisimos determinar los elementos propios de la lengua de signos y de la cultura sorda que mejor valoraban las personas sordas y centrarnos en los criterios de calidad y los factores que determinan que disfruten de este tipo de producto. En cuanto al diseño de nuestra investigación, se trata de un estudio preliminar de corte cualitativo, no experimental y transversal, con un alcance exploratorio descriptivo. El procedimiento que utilizamos, en primer lugar, fue la validación de la herramienta de recogida de datos. Posteriormente, se envió a las participantes, en este caso en el grupo de discusión, un corpus con 9 canciones que habíamos recogido de una investigación previa que hicimos con intérpretes profesionales. Nos facilitaron vídeos de canciones elaboradas por ellas mismas que consideraban de calidad. Y, por último, procedimos al propio grupo de discusión. En el grupo de discusión participaron 4 mujeres y 2 hombres, por lo tanto tenemos una muestra principalmente femenina, la mayoría de ellas con sordera congénita o adquirida a edad temprana, en la que la lengua materna principalmente era la lengua de signos española, exceptuando 2 casos. Su competencia de comprensión del español era considerada por ellas mismas, su autopercepción era que era una competencia alta o media alta, y eran conocedoras todas ellas de otras lenguas de signos y de los signos internacionales. Además, todas contaban con una titulación académica superior. En cuanto a los criterios de calidad, los resultados que obtuvimos fue, de forma general, es que para ellos una canción de calidad debe de ser comprendida en su conjunto, debe contar con un componente estético y musical, debe darse una adaptación cultural y debe haber principalmente una preparación previa. Concretando, hablaban de una serie de elementos gramaticales, como era que se cumpliera una estructura sintáctica pura de la lengua de signos, como decía ayer Asun, que no se dé bimodal, que la estructura sea propiamente la de la lengua de signos, que las configuraciones sean claras, es decir, la manera en la que se articulan los signos sean claras, que los recursos que utilicen sean visuales y que se dé una presencia alta del componente no manual. También consideran que para que se dé una calidad deben aparecer ciertos elementos culturales, entre los que destacan el uso de modismos y los clasificadores, que también son elementos gramaticales, pero que son los que destacan por caracterizar la cultura visual de las personas sordas. En cuanto a los elementos artísticos que debe contener una canción de calidad, debe encajar la letra y la música y debe aparecer el ritmo. Y en el caso, hay otros elementos que también consideran relevantes, como son las competencias que deben tener las intérpretes que ejecutan este tipo de traducciones, la actitud de las mismas, tanto en el escenario como en los vídeos. En el caso de los eventos en directo, dónde se ubica la intérprete, y la conexión entre el intérprete y el artista. Eso también en el caso de los eventos en directo. Como conclusiones generales, lo que determinamos, siempre teniendo en cuenta que somos conscientes de que la muestra que teníamos era pequeña, de que es difícil generalizar esto a la opinión de toda la comunidad sorda, pero sí creemos que las personas sordas consideran que la calidad viene determinada por el nivel de comprensión que tengan de esa canción, que una mayor comprensión viene condicionada por el uso de algunos elementos propios de las lenguas signadas y por la presencia del componente cultural, que es fundamental que haya presencia de la música en las traducciones para que se considere una canción y que existen criterios no lingüísticos que también influyen en la percepción de la calidad. Haciendo ahora un análisis basándonos en los criterios establecidos por Lowe y por Bao y González-Montesino, en cuanto a la cantabilidad, para las personas sordas también es el elemento clave, junto con la naturalidad, para que una canción sea considerada una canción traducida a la lengua de signos, que es evidentemente el elemento más complejo de conseguir en lenguas de signos, que lo definen como la necesidad de que el contenido musical y el lingüístico sean visibles y que se presenten en armonía, que además debe presentarse el elemento cultural y los recursos para conseguir esta cantabilidad serían el uso del espacio, los clasificadores, la expresión facial, etcétera, incluyéndose elementos artísticos. Esta cantabilidad la asimilamos con el concepto de transmisión completa del discurso original que planteaban Bao y González-Montesino. En cuanto a la naturalidad, para las personas sordas, la naturalidad en una canción traducida significa que la forma en la que se expresan los signantes que traducen esas canciones sea similar a la forma natural en la que se expresan las personas sordas, que se usen igualmente los recursos visuales que ya hemos indicado, clasificadores, expresión facial, corporal, al mismo tiempo que haya modismos, que son lo que caracteriza muchas veces la lengua natural de las personas sordas. Esto se traduce en que haya un acento gestual, es decir, que se asemeje a la manera en la que signan las personas sordas, que ese mensaje esté cohesionado y sea fluido y, evidentemente, que la lengua de signos sea correcta, que sea gramatical, que la articulación signada sea correcta, que el componente no manual sea adecuado. En cuanto al sentido, lo hemos asimilado con la transmisión correcta del discurso original que planteaban Bao y González-Montesino, ya que consideran que el sentido significa que se transmita de manera correcta el significado, el contenido y la intención del texto, es decir, que esté la expresión y que esté la emoción. Para ello, consideran que hay que hacer uso de determinadas técnicas y estrategias de traducción. En cuanto al ritmo, es el elemento que todas las personas sordas participantes en el grupo de discusión nombraban como cualidad de la música que debe estar presente, la que más conocían o la que consideraban que tenía que estar presente. El ritmo lo hemos denominado, que sería, en el caso de las canciones a lengua de signos, la transmisión correcta del contenido musical. Este se consigue a través de la expresión facial, el movimiento de los signos, el movimiento corporal y el baile. En último lugar, tal como nos pasaba con los estudios propuestos por Lowe, la rima, en este caso, no sería necesaria para ellos, no hablan de la rima en ningún momento. Deberíamos, por tanto, valorar, tal como hacía Lowe, si la importancia de la rima en la lengua meta, no en la lengua origen. Y, por último, decir que priorizan los otros cuatro criterios. En cuanto a los criterios lingüísticos, ya los hemos visto. En cuanto a los criterios no lingüísticos, priorizan la preparación previa, como hemos visto. Ya alguna compañera ayer habló del asesor lingüístico. Para las personas sordas es fundamental que en esa preparación previa participe un asesor lingüístico de partida. Luego ya hay diferentes modelos de partida, evaluando el producto final antes de hacerlo público. Hay diferentes momentos en los que puede participar el asesor lingüístico, pero lo ideal es que esté desde el inicio del proceso. También consideran que las intérpretes que se dediquen a la traducción de canciones deben contar con unas competencias específicas, destacando la bilingüe, la extralingüística, la habilidad artística y expresiva, la estratégica y la de conocimiento de la traducción. Además, valoran muy positivamente el que haya una evaluación, como hemos dicho. Si no participa un asesor lingüístico, que por lo menos de manera posterior haya una evaluación en la que participen personas sordas expertas en lengua de signos, normalmente. Por último, en cuanto a los espectáculos en vivo, como ya hemos dicho, hay una serie de criterios no lingüísticos que influyen. Ya hemos hablado de la ubicación del intérprete y el artista, no solo el intérprete, sino cómo se relacionan en el espacio, la conexión que existe entre ellos, los sistemas alternativos con los que cuentan ese tipo de eventos, bien sea el bucle magnético, las mochilas, el subtitulado, todo lo que hay, todas las medidas de accesibilidad que vayan junto al intérprete de lengua de signos, la coherencia que se dé entre el intérprete y el artista, es decir, que en cuanto a vestuario, maquillaje, que haya una coherencia en su forma de estar en el escenario, en su presencia en el escenario. Y, por último, valoraba muy positivamente la actitud de estas intérpretes en el escenario. Es decir, que haya no solamente que haya un bagaje en cuanto a traductora, sino un bagaje de escenario, que sepan dónde tienen que estar. Por lo tanto, concluimos que la noción de calidad que presentan las personas participantes en la investigación es bastante acertada, ya que los parámetros que plantean son similares a los que hemos visto en otras investigaciones de calidad, tanto en lengua de signos como en canciones traducidas, y que principalmente hay 4 criterios que son fundamentales para que se consiga la calidad. Por un lado, que existe esa preparación previa de la que hemos hablado, que el discurso se transmita de forma concreta, completa y correcta, y que además se transmita de manera correcta el contenido musical. En base a esta investigación surgieron unas líneas de investigación futuras, que sería analizar las técnicas y estrategias utilizadas en el corpus de los 9 vídeos que utilizamos, evaluar un material, que las personas sordas pudieran evaluar material realizado con la colaboración de asesores lingüísticos o sin ellos, para ver realmente dónde está el factor de calidad y poder reivindicar como profesionales la figura del asesor lingüístico cuando vamos a trabajar en la traducción de canciones. También hacer una escala de relevancia de estos criterios de evaluación de calidad que hemos planteado, cuáles son los más importantes, tanto para intérpretes como para personas sordas. Estudiar la opinión de los artistas y los promotores de eventos respecto a esto que hemos hablado, a la presencia del intérprete, a la presencia de asesores sordos, a si les llega la música a las personas sordas o no. Realizar un diálogo entre todos los intervinientes en este acto. Y por último, y no por ello la menos importante, que es a mí la que más me interesa, es la aplicación didáctica de la traducción de canciones a la lengua de signos en el ámbito académico para los futuros traductores e intérpretes de lengua de signos. Aquí os dejo unas pequeñas referencias, bueno, unas pequeñas, 2 hojas de referencias bibliográficas. Y nada, muchas gracias por todo, por habernos invitado a estar aquí hoy, y esperamos que os haya parecido interesante nuestra ponencia.
Muchas gracias. Muchísimas gracias por vuestra intervención, Elena y Rayco. La verdad que es fascinante, o sea, nos hemos quedado todos, ¿no?, con esta investigación, y no me extraña que pretendáis, bueno, futuras líneas de investigación, porque es amplísimo. No sé si tenemos alguna... ¿Sí? Tenemos preguntas aquí en el auditorio.
Hola, bueno, yo soy María, aquí de Madrid, y soy oyente y además ciega, con lo cual, claro, muy alejada, o sea, desconozco mucho este mundo, pero por eso mismo me interesa también mucho, porque aprendo mucho. Entonces, tengo 2 preguntas. La primera, y perdonad por tanto si son cosas obvias o básicas o yo qué sé. La primera es si habéis hablado de las actuaciones en directo, que eso lo entiendo, pero aparte las traducciones que no son en directo, digamos, ¿cómo accede una persona sorda a una traducción? O sea, porque yo pienso, las personas oyentes, pues no sé, te coges, bueno, antes un CD o lo que sea, o te conectas a la plataforma de turno, o en fin, tienes manera de oír las canciones. Pero una persona sorda, primero, ¿cómo sabe si tal o cual canción está traducida? Y segundo, ¿cómo accede a ella más allá de los eventos en directo? Esa es la primera pregunta.
Vale, en cuanto a lo que no son eventos en directo, cuando se trata de música hecha para personas sordas, tiene que ser a través de vídeo, exclusivamente. El vídeo puede ser con intérprete de lengua de signos y subtítulos, que en realidad las personas sordas sí reclaman que es lo más completo, aunque el acceso real se da a través de la lengua de signos. También hay que ver las competencias lingüísticas que tengan esas personas sordas, la competencia lectoescritora, pero en realidad la única forma que hay de acceder a la música sería, desde mi punto de vista como intérprete de lengua de signos, es a través de, en el caso de no ser eventos en directo, es a través de vídeo, a través de YouTube.
Pero tú, ¿cómo sabes? O sea, tú eres sorda y ¿cómo sabes, oye, que han traducido esta canción? O sea, ¿cómo se les informa de eso? ¿Cómo alguien llega a eso? O sea,
¿cómo alguien llega a qué, María? Perdóname.
O sea, ¿tú cómo sabes que ha habido una canción que han traducido tal canción y que tú puedes acceder a ella? ¿Y
bueno,
dónde está el enlace del vídeo para...? O sea,
pues esto es redes sociales, boca a boca. Es muy complicado. Yo, por ejemplo, yo llevo muchos años trabajando en esto y a mí no me conoce casi nadie porque yo no publico en redes sociales. Yo hago eventos en directo. Pero sí que cuando hay un vídeo con una canción de calidad, signando una canción, te puedo asegurar que las personas sordas se enteran.
O sea, que eso es por ahí, por compartir,
el boca a boca y
por ahí.
Es
por
boca a boca.
Y...
Sí, no hay ninguna plataforma de difusión concreta de este tipo de materiales.
Y, por ejemplo, las plataformas, estoy pensando, bueno, claro, es que esas a lo mejor no son vídeo, pero las plataformas habituales, yo que sé, Spotify y tal, ¿no se ha planteado que tuvieran una sección vídeo y que de la misma forma que hay suscripciones para los oyentes, pudiera haber también suscripciones o algo parecido para las personas sordas, con una sección de vídeo o algo así?
De momento no, pero también es verdad que es por eso hay que hablar mucho con las discográficas, con la gente que con la gente que se dedica al mundo de la producción musical, porque todavía no le dan la importancia que tiene o consideran que la inversión no merece la pena, porque las personas sordas, por eso hablaba de la visión audiocentrista de la música. Si consideramos que la música solo se puede percibir por los oídos, no nos interesa, y ese es el punto de vista de mucha gente, de muchos artistas, de mucha producción. Bueno, podría hablar de muchos casos en los que me he contado en la tesitura de que no, o sea, la intérprete no cuenta porque no vamos a repartir el dinero entre una persona más. O sea, que ya estamos hablando de factores puramente económicos y puramente de eso, de punto de vista audiocentrista de la música. Es una lástima, pero es que es así.
Y luego la segunda pregunta va un poco relacionada con eso. Ayer veíamos el tema de la percusión y de la percepción de la música a través de vibraciones y tal. Entonces, claro, eso con la percusión es más fácil porque se pegan unos zambombazos que es fácil la vibración. Pero, por ejemplo, hay canciones que entiendo que se prestan mejor a ser traducidas que otras. Por ejemplo, las baladas, complicado, ¿no? Porque eso no vibra, ni que... No sé.
Depende de si es en directo o no. En un evento en directo, si lleva la mochila vibratoria, da igual el tipo de música que sea. Esas mochilas están preparadas para que los diferentes sonidos y la diferente entonación, para que llegue todo de manera diferenciada en lugares distintos del cuerpo y con diferentes vibraciones. Entonces, eso en directo es indiferente. Y en un vídeo, pues depende de lo que te guste. Hay personas sordas que les encantan las canciones tranquilas, que van de amor.
Pero ¿y cómo?
Y otras porque transmites el ritmo con el cuerpo y con el signado, la cadencia, dónde coloco el signado. Cuando es una canción lenta, yo signo un poquito más abajo, signo un poquito más lento. Cuando la música es tensa, el signado es más brusco, tengo las manos más arriba, en un lugar más diferente, más la parte superior del cuerpo. La expresión facial acompaña todo eso. O sea, es que depende de la sensibilidad que tenga la persona sorda y sobre todo,
es un arte,
que es muy importante la relación que haya tenido con la música. En las aulas de música no se suele, en la hora de música a las personas sordas se les solía sacar de clase. No se les ha dado nunca una formación musical, por lo tanto no saben qué relación tienen con la música, porque no lo conocen. Entonces eso es algo que cada vez más se va incluyendo en las aulas, por lo menos que estén en el aula. Que luego les llegue de una manera o de otra, que les guste más o menos, eso ya pues como a cualquier oyente, pero por lo menos que tengan la oportunidad de aprender qué es la música.
Porque música instrumental, eso no, dices de las aulas de música, estoy pensando en las clases de piano, por ejemplo, en las sonatas. Se hizo un proyecto hace años en un colegio, en el Ponce de León, que es un colegio preferente para personas sordas, en las que, incluso creo que los vídeos están por internet, en las que entre la profesora de música y algunos colaboradores y la intérprete de lengua de signos lo que hicieron fue hablar en esas canciones, hablaban de lo que tratan las canciones, es decir, si hay alguna, pues no sé, es que no sé, no sé, el lago de los cisnes, ¿de qué va? Pues a lo mejor te cuento de qué va la historia del lago de los cisnes, mientras eso se representa a la vez que hay el ritmo de la música. También hay otras formas de acceder, el tocar las cuerdas de una guitarra mientras se toca. No sé, es que hay... Sí, es un mundo.
Es un mundo y yo no soy musicóloga experta en esto, soy intérprete de lengua de signos, entonces te digo las cosas que conozco un poco de experiencia hasta ahora, de experiencia personal.
Y luego la última ya lo dejo. ¿Podrías recordar, ayer no lo entendí yo muy bien, los clasificadores exactamente qué son?
Los clasificadores son un recurso de la lengua de signos en las que, para que lo entiendas un poco, representamos una escena con las manos. Es decir, un ejemplo muy sencillo, en vez de decir alguien viene y signar el signo alguien y el signo venir, yo hago un clasificador de una persona que es el dedo índice levantado y entonces esa persona hago que venga hacia mí, hago un movimiento de fuera hacia mí. Lo mismo, cuando quiero decir que el ordenador está encima de la mesa, lo primero que hago es hacer el signo de mesa y colocar mi mano izquierda, en este caso mi mano no dominante, recta con la palma hacia abajo, y entonces encima coloco el ordenador con otro. Los clasificadores suelen tener la forma que tienen los objetos. Si es un cuadrado, mi palma está estirada; si es un círculo y tiene volumen, mi mano hace la forma como si cogiera un vaso; si es algo circular sin volumen, hago como una O con la mano, solamente con el índice y con el pulgar.
Y eso complementa, ¿no? O a veces es más fácil eso que...
No es que complemente, es que es una parte fundamental de la lengua de signos. Sin clasificadores no hay lengua de signos, pero no española. En general, los clasificadores son un recurso de cualquier lengua de signos.
Sí, pero tú, por ejemplo, si puedes decir también alguien viene, si tienes un signo para decir alguien viene,
lo que pasa es que culturalmente una persona sorda, si tú haces alguien y viene, dice, este no tiene ni idea de lengua de signos ni de cultura sorda. Es una cosa, es como si como traducir en otra lengua y utilizar, por ejemplo, en inglés, yo que no sé mucho inglés, pues utilizar traducciones muy literales en vez de cuando a lo mejor hay una frase hecha que yo no estoy utilizando. Sería un poco eso.
Vale.
Se nota el nivel de lengua de signos, depende de cómo utilices sus recursos, entre ellos los clasificadores.
Muchas gracias.
Nada,
Perdón por la batería de preguntas.
Nada.
Hay una pregunta en el chat que la hace María Asunción Pérez de Zafra, que, bueno, en primer lugar os felicita, muy interesante el trabajo que habéis hecho, Elena y Rayco, y quería preguntaros si tenéis publicado algún libro con toda esta investigación.
De momento, con esta parte concreta de las personas sordas, no. Mi tesis está pendiente de publicación porque tengo que publicar algún artículo entre medias, pero el año que viene espero que esté publicada ya. Sí tenemos un artículo en Rebles sobre las competencias que tiene que tener una intérprete de lengua de signos para dedicarse a la música, y sobre técnicas y estrategias también hay otro capítulo del libro publicado. Bueno, si te interesa, Asunte, luego te paso enlaces, porque sí que están ya publicados.
Te da las gracias.
Muy bien, muchísimas gracias. Una pregunta rapidita acerca del tanto por ciento, porque habéis utilizado, habéis comentado que habíais hecho, el corpus que teníais, que habíais analizado, las canciones y cómo, lo percibían. Entiendo que todo ese grupo era un grupo que sí que consumía canciones.
Sí, esa es también una de las limitaciones que creemos que es, por eso la investigación tiene cierto sesgo, y es que a todas ellas se les pedía que hubieran consumido en algún momento canciones traducidas. Eso no supuso que todas ellas fueran personas que disfrutaban con las canciones traducidas. O sea, una cosa es que las vean y hayan sido consumidoras, y otra es que disfruten o que les gustasen. Entonces sí que había opiniones polarizadas, y en ese grupo incluso había personas que traducían canciones, o sea, personas sordas, no intérpretes sordas, pero sí que traducían canciones. Entonces sí que conocían el ámbito, y fue interesante porque el corpus de las 9 canciones recogidas de las intérpretes profesionales de ellas 3 eran intérpretes profesionales que se dedicaban habitualmente a trabajar con el mismo grupo o con el mismo artista de manera habitual, el mismo, desde el proceso creativo hasta el final. Otras 3 que lo hacían de manera frecuente con diferentes grupos, bien producían en redes sociales o en eventos en directo, y las últimas 3 eran traductoras sordas. Entonces sí que fue curioso el que no vimos diferenciación entre si eran sordas o oyentes. Valoraban mucho la calidad de ese trabajo, y lo que decíamos, el sesgo está, evidentemente, porque necesitábamos tener unos criterios de inclusión, si no hubiera sido muy complicado, sobre todo porque buscábamos gente que tuviera experiencia en ver ese tipo de material, que tuvieran en su cabeza ya qué es para ellos la calidad. Alguien que no le gusta, que no lo ve, que de primeras lo rechaza, iba a costar mucho más trabajo tirar del hilo y sacar esas conclusiones.
Vale. Bien, gracias.
Nada.
Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias de nuevo, y pasamos a los siguientes ponentes. Now we're going to move with Merve, Ekin, Krzysztof, Krejtz, Carlos Duarte, Leticia Pereira, and Isabella Hess from University SWPS from Poland. No, they're going to connect online. And let me just read briefly their bios. Okay, Merve Ekin is a doctoral researcher at the Eye Tracking Research Center at SWPS University. She holds a bachelor degree in psychology from Ankara University and a master's degree in clinical neuroscience from Dokuz Eylül University in Turkey. Forgive my pronunciation of these names. During her master's studies, she employed eye tracking methods to investigate psychiatric and neurological diseases. Her thesis focused on cytadic eye movement in individuals with the premortal stage of psychosis and bipolar disorder. She has published several articles on the topic of oculomotor changes in specific pathologies, and she is currently engaged in research on cognitive load, multimedia linear, and gaze-based machine learning models in real-time situations within the MSCA Doctoral Network Eyes for ICU project. Krzysztof Krejtz, let me get your bio. Okay, sorry about this. He's an associate professor in psychology at the same university in Poland, Eye Tracking Research Center, Institute of Psychology, and University of Warsaw, Poland, and he published several research works on accessibility. Carlos Duarte, as associate professor at the Facultad de Ciencias of the Universidad de Lisboa, and a senior research at LASIGE, or LASIGE, where he leads the Inclusive Human-Computer Interaction Research line. His primary research focus revolves around digital accessibility, encompassing a range of topics such as automated accessibility evaluation mechanism, the accessibility of conventional agents, the transformative role of AI in enhancing accessibility, and the development of effective digital accessibility curricula in higher education. He has published over 100 referred scientific papers and edited 2 books on the topic of accessibility. His research contributions include the development of QualWeb, a free open source automated web accessibility evaluation engine, and he co-chairs the W3C Accessibility Conformance Testing Rules Community Group, where he contributes to establishing a harmonious interpretation of accessibility conformance testing. He was part of the W3C Education and Outreach Working Group Task Force that redesigned the curriculum for teaching web accessibility. All of you, thanks very much for attending, and we shall, see your presentation now. I don't know if you want to share your screen.
Hello, yes, thank you for introduction first. Now I'm sharing my screen. Okay. I hope you are seeing now I make full screen.
Yeah, could you please?
You are seeing changing?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I can start. Hello everyone, my name is Merve. Today I will present our study with title Accessibility for All, Facilitating Cognitive Engagement with Accessibility Features. I would like to start what is web accessibility exactly. Web is getting bigger area in our contemporary world, and web accessibility purpose that an improved design for individuals with certain disabilities. People with auditory, cognitive, neurological, or vision impairments are facing everyday with problems to access the web. Therefore, the idea is to make the web more accessible regardless of disabilities, thanks to universality. More accessible websites are important because we are reaching most information about education, health, news, and so on using the web. Also, this is important because of the equal opportunity for all users. And the other side, there are also ethical and legal rules about web accessibility. So we need better user experience for everyone. Here is a guideline for web context accessibility. And this is a huge guideline, including some recommendations about making web more accessible. This is actually focusing to people with disabilities, but We know that this is also beneficial for people without disabilities. When we look at the literature, we can find some articles about that. For example, one of them suggests using this guideline provides high accessibility rate and better performance for even users without disabilities. But still we need more investigations for understanding the effect of the accessibility enhancement on all users. If we go our study background, as I said, yes, there are studies conducted with people without disabilities, but they are mostly focusing technical and usability sides, and not the impact of the accessible context on user experience. That's why we aim to evaluate cognitive engagement experience by users without disabilities with web page enhancing different accessibility features. If we go through the details of our purpose, I would like to mention firstly what is cognitive engagement. This term means people cognitive resources for information processing during the mentally demanding tasks. And in the visual attention theory, there are two processing modes, ambient and focal processing. Ambient processing represents the peripheral vision without engaging with details. But focal processing is required deep cognitive engagement. So we can say focal processing and cognitive engagement are highly connected to each other. Previous studies worked with these cognitive functions using certain physiological measurements like eye tracking and biosignals. But what is eye tracking exactly? This is a non-invasive technique providing an understanding of cognitive functions like cognitive engagement, attention, information processing, decision making, and so on. And we can use eye tracker in academia like psychology, medicine, linguistics, neuroscience, and industry like marketing, user interface, and user experience area. And biosignals, these are measuring biological process with our nervous and muscular systems, and they are providing an insight into cognitive and physiological process. And in literature, biosignals are used by neuroscience, ecology, and human-computer interaction studies. I would like to mention two essential terms about eye tracking to make sense our results. Fixations and saccades. Fixations are a stabilized image on our retina, and overall we are interpreting fixations as a cue of visual information processing. And other term is saccade. These are movements between two fixations, and when we scan our visual fields, saccadic inhibition appear, and we assume that during the saccades there is no any visual information processing. And in biometric side, I will explain two terms that we are using in our study: heart rate variability and length of the interbreath intervals. Heart rate variability is a variation in time interval between sequential heartbeats, and we use standard deviation of normal to normal intervals in the analysis, and the length of the interbreath intervals also measured in our study. If you look at the literature, it shows different approach to cognitive engagement and physiological measures. Eye tracking studies show long fixation duration and long fixation time appearing higher cognitive engagements and information processing. Also, there are some studies investigating attentional engagements, and they are using fixation duration and saccade amplitude to understand ambient and focal attention processing during the mentally demanding tasks. When we look at web page and physiological measurement studies, in eye tracking part, there are studies to assess user experience in interactive web pages. Also, there are other type of studies, different type of web design they are using based on evaluation of the user's cognitive engagement. Other part, there is no study about heart rate variability and web page accessibility features. But we know that This can be used in information processing, and studies show this is an indicator for cognitive engagements during the mentally demanding tasks. In our study, we use a triangular model with subjective assessments, I-metrics and biometrics. In subjective assessments, participants answer a comprehension question about web pages, and they make self-evaluation about readability and understandability of overall web page. And we measure some I-metrics and heart rate variability here. Here I want to highlight what is K coefficient exactly. Focal and ambient mode of visual information processing change dynamically during the mental tasks. And this indicator shows this change in specific calculations. You are seeing a formula here. And if we go to details, according to calculation of this metric, longer fixation durations followed by shorter saccades in focal processing. So during the focal processing, selective attention and cognitive engagement appear. And in ambient processing, short fixation durations followed by long saccades. And in the results, negative values show us ambient and positive values show us focal information processing. We record in total 20 participants, and we use gaze point eye tracker, which include a stationary tracker and biometric device. As a digital context, we choose New York Times and BBC new websites. For accessibility features, we apply low vision and cognitive impairment accessibility. Here I want to underline a point because New York Times and BBC are already well-known websites, and they are already having a good accessibility level actually, even in original pages. But we apply some adjustment for this study. In low vision accessibility, web pages are enhanced with letters, word, and line spacing. For cognitive accessibility, they are enhanced with language and distracting contents. So for two websites, BBC and New York Times, we have 4 accessibility conditions. First one is original page. We didn't apply any enhancements. Second one is only low vision accessibility, only with letter, word, and line spacing. And the third one is only cognitive accessibility with language and context distracting. And the last one is we apply both accessibility features here. In the procedure of our study, we start with a working memory task using the n-back digits. This is used for controlling the results in terms of working memory capacity. And then we start recording section. Main task was the web page, and participants saw this web page 16 seconds. Then they answered 3 questions. One about comprehension question of about one article in the web page, and understandability and readability questions of overall web pages. And this recording section repeated 8 times for all conditions to all participants, so it was a within subject design. In the end, they complete a subjective workload task to understand a perceived cognitive overload. I would like to show detail of the web page task. The participants show the web page in a browser. They scroll the websites, they read the article, and if they want, they click the specific article and read them for the 60 seconds. Then the questions start. In line of this information, we have 2 hypotheses. Firstly, we expect information processing during the web page with cognitive accessibility enhancements. We also weight shifting in visual attention and change in self-reports between the original and enhanced web pages. Secondly, we hypothesize a change in information processing during the web page with low vision accessibility enhancements. And we weight here shifting attention to ambient mode over time because this is compatible with previous reading studies. And we also expect the effect of low vision adjustment on the readability evaluation. So, in data analysis, we use our language for statistical analysis, and our model was 2 by 2 by 2 within subject. For low vision and cognitive accessibility, we have two conditions: original websites and enhanced websites. And we also split the study two parts in terms of time, and working memory capacity was used as a covariate variable. Okay, so our results. I will explain which hypothesis and results to make more understandable. So we hypothesize here some differences between accessibility conditions in terms of user evaluation for understanding and readability. And we achieved here high understandability score in a web page with cognitive enhancements compared to original web pages, and high readability score in low vision accessibility web pages. So and they were compatible with our expectations and literature. After that, we checked visual attention by using K coefficient to understand ambient and focal attention changing during the task. And we report here a web page with cognitive enhancements show more focal visual processing. So this result can be interpreted as a higher cognitive engagement in web pages with cognitive accessibility adjustments. After that, we looked at dynamic attention in time on task. Our results show during the K coefficient, during the task, K coefficient shift to ambient visual processing in the end of the web page task. This shows that a user's attention is becoming more ambient with time, so they are losing their focus, and they have lower cognitive engagement level in the end of the task. In interaction effect of low vision and cognitive enhancement over time, we expect some improvements in cognitive engagement with cognitive adjustments. Even though our previous results showed a decrease in cognitive engagement with time on task, here is important because if you are seeing the dashed line, this is show us web page with cognitive accessibility may stop this decrease and provide the keeping the focal attention, because cognitive accessibility condition stay focal until the end of the task if we compare it to original web pages. And the other part of this graph, this result support our previous results because we are seeing a shifting to ambient attention over time. So we aim to evaluate the cognitive engagement during interaction with web pages, enhancing low vision and cognitive accessibility features. Now I want to make a summary and comparison of the literature here. So first thing, we expect to see effect of the cognitive accessibility features on cognitive engagement, and we observe websites with cognitive accessibility feature were proceed with more focal attention than the original websites. This is an important contribution of our study because, as far as we know, there is no study show higher cognitive engagement with website accessibility features. And other outcome is related to time on task and cognitive engagements. We show that attention of the users decrease in time on task and becoming more ambient. So they are less focusing to end of the task, and this supported by literature because they are showing time-dependent change in cognitive engagements. And the studies show a reduction in the attention based on the reading time duration, so they are supporting our results. And the last thing, this is, even though both literature and our studies, our results, found a decrease in cognitive engagement with time, cognitive accessibility features on the web design may help to keep attention in high level. If we look at the results, we achieve this because users demonstrate focal attention until the end of the task in a web page with cognitive accessibility features. And to the best of our knowledge, there is no study to report maintaining the attention with cognitive enhancements. And our all results were controlled with working memory task, as I said in the procedure. So finally, the message of our study is accessibility features improve cognitive engagement for users without disabilities. Also, a multimodal approach makes the results richer with subjective and objective measurements. We hope that this study will help more user-friendly and more accessible web design for all users in digital environments. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any idea or question, always you can reach me with emails. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Merve, and all your team for this incredible work, and congratulations on your research and your results. I don't know, we do have questions. This is a non-stop. Okay.
Morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for all of you for this great study. And I have a question about if there were any dynamic stimuli in the web pages you used for this study, and if so, if these kind of dynamic stimuli has any effect in the cognitive load, and also maybe you at least to me you went too fast as for the eye tracking properties. Could you please show us again, or at least to me, how the properties of the eye tracker experiment was? I mean, the slide about the eye tracker properties.
Merve, are you able to listen to us or not?
If you repeat, it will be perfect because I cannot hear perfectly.
Sorry.
I think, Oscar, you want to see the slide on the properties of...
Yes, the slide, I mean, the slide on the eye tracker properties, you really went too fast.
Are you able to share, Merve, the list, the slide on the eye tracker's properties, please?
Sure. Here?
No, maybe later on when you.
You want to see here or?
I want to see especially which kind of sampling rate or which kind of properties, specific properties of the eye tracker. No, just the properties of the eye tracker.
You are mute.
It was it was really fast to me.
Merve, could you please scroll up and down, and maybe we are able to see.
The next one. Hey, sorry.
Here or here?
The next one, please.
Next one, yeah.
Here, maybe?
Sorry, I don't know exactly which one is the slide. Anyway, and I was interested in the K coefficient and the relation that that metric has in the.
Could you please repeat, Oscar? That was my mistake. I mute the microphone. Could you please repeat the...
Oh, okay. As for the K coefficient and its relation to the biometrics you used for your study, is there any relationship with the devices, the biometric devices, and the K coefficient?
Maybe did you?
Yeah, I did not hear perfectly. Actually, sorry.
Yes, Oscar. Maybe you want to approach here. Oscar is going to ask you here directly because
maybe
it seems that there's.
Maybe it's a mic.
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. My question was related to the K coefficient and the biometric devices you used for the study. I mean, if there is any relation with these K coefficient and those devices?
With biometrics, we found some results, but not the relationship between the K coefficient and heart rate variability, actually.
Okay, and my previous question was about if you used any dynamic stimuli in the web pages, and if so, if is that related to the cognitive load of your conclusions or whatever?
Yeah, of course, because they have some different accessibility levels, and we are waiting the change in cognitive overload. And we wait the improvement of the accessibility features can decrease the cognitive overload. Because we are making some adjustment, and we are waiting. They will less cognitive load, and they will focus more, and they will understand more. Maybe that's why we ask comprehension, understanding, and ability questions after the debate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Merve. Well, I think there are no other questions, so we really appreciate your participation in this talk this morning. Okay, we're gonna stop for a quick break, and thanks again, Merve, and all your team. Okay, we shall stop for 20 minutes, and then we will be back with the next session. Thanks very much.